All right, so get this. Donald Trump's back on the campaign trail. And you guessed it. He's telling stories about Oprah again. And since you guys know, we love a good fact-check deep dive.
Oh, yeah. We'd love to get those receipts.
Exactly. We're going to unpack a couple of his recent claims. Ones where, let's just say, Oprah Winfrey is the key witness to prove he's... Well, we'll let you decide. You specifically asked us to dig into this.
It's juicy stuff. And what I find so fascinating about these particular claims is that they aren't just one-offs. It's not just Trump misremembering a detail or two. These are specific, pretty detailed stories about Oprah that he's repeated years apart.
Which begs the question, why? What's the strategy here? It's like he's got an Oprah story for every occasion. So let's start with the first one. Picture this. September 2024, Trump's back on a campaign trail, and he manages to take a swing at both Kamala Harris and Oprah in the same breath. He claims he was on the last episode of Oprah's show, like the grand finale, the big one. He even says it was an honor to be there.
Well, there's one problem with that story. It's completely demonstrably false. Our fact check found Trump was a guest on Oprah's show, but it was months earlier than the finale. The article we found actually lists the celebrities who were on that final week. And let me tell you, Star said it doesn't even begin to describe it.
It's not like it was some private event either. Millions of people saw that Oprah finale, so why even say it if it's so easily disproven?
And that's where it gets really interesting. This wasn't just a slip-up, a one-time thing. Trump has been repeating this story almost word for word for over a decade, at least since 2013, we found.
So someone, somewhere along the line, would have heard him say that and corrected him, right?
You would think.
So you're saying this might be about more than just getting facts wrong. This could be about, what, controlling the narrative, even if it means bending reality.
Exactly. It makes you think about the motivation behind clinging to a story.
Yeah.
That clearly clashes with, reality. What purpose does it serve for him?
Right. Is it about shaping his own legacy? Is he trying to diminish Oprah's influence by making it seem like they had this big final moment together? Or could it be something else entirely?
And that's what I find so intriguing about this whole thing, the psychological aspect. Why would someone cling so tightly to a narrative that doesn't actually align with reality?
It's a great question.
It really makes you think about the strange relationship between ego, power, and the stories we tell ourselves,
And how those stories get used when someone is, say, running for the most powerful position in the world.
Oh.
But hold on, folks, because this Oprah-Trump saga, well, it isn't over yet. All right. Story number 2. And this one's a real doozy. This time, it's not just about Trump and Oprah. There's a third person thrown into the mix. Kamala Harris.
Yes. This actually ties into a pattern we see a lot with Trump's claims. He often brings in other really high-profile figures, almost like he's trying to add weight to his own narratives,
Yeah, it's like he's building this whole witness list in his stories, except none of the witnesses were actually there. Or if they were, they don't remember it the way he does.
Exactly.
So what's the story this time?
Well, in this case, Trump is talking about that whole Kamala Harris worked at McDonald's thing. Do you remember that? It was making the rounds a while back.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that was part of this whole attempt to, paint her as inauthentic or something, like she was hiding her past.
Right, exactly. So this is where Trump brings in Oprah.
Okay, let me guess.
He claims that Oprah once grilled Kamala Harris about this McDonald's job.
Get out.
And that Harris totally dodged the question. She was trying to hide something.
Come on.
It's the kind of story that really creates this vivid picture in your mind, right?
I know it. I can see it now. Oprah, with that trademark interview style of hers.
Right.
Putting Harris on the spot. So what's the truth? Give us the fact check.
All right, so the truth is, it never happened.
Yeah.
Oprah never grilled Kamala Harris about working at McDonald's.
Really?
No, Oprah did mention the McDonald's job, but it was only in passing. Like when she was introducing Harris on stage at an event, she didn't ask her about it directly, never questioned her about it, never even brought it up again.
So no awkward silence, no raised eyebrow from Oprah, none of that?
None whatsoever. But see, that's the thing. He takes this grain of truth, the fact that Oprah mentioned it, right?
Yeah.
And he twists it into this whole dramatic confrontation.
Which is just classic misinformation, right?
Exactly.
Find a kernel of truth and wrap a whole bunch of lies around it. Make it easier to swallow. But okay, so how does this story, this McDonald's story, how does it fit into this pattern we're seeing with Trump and Oprah and these tall tales?
Well, I think it all comes back to storytelling.
Mm.
Trump is very strategically deploying these narratives,
Yeah.
trying to shape how the public sees these other figures.
So in this case, by inventing this whole thing about Oprah and Kamala Harris,
Right.
he's trying to make Harris look less trustworthy.
Exactly. And he's using Oprah, someone who's famous for her honesty and integrity, to make his own claims seem more credible.
Wow.
It's really quite clever when you think about it.
So we've got these two different stories about Oprah, both totally false, both repeated multiple times over the years. And they both point to this pattern of, well, using storytelling for a very specific purpose.
Exactly.
And what's wild is...
Not even just him.
Right.
This is bigger than just Donald Trump.
Way bigger.
This is about all of us and how we navigate this world where information is everywhere.
And it's getting harder and harder to tell what's true and what's not.
Exactly.
So we've got pretty deep on these two Oprah stories, and I think it's safe to say neither of them really make Trump look good.
Yeah, you could say that again.
But here's the thing that I keep coming back to. It's so easy to get stuck on just how outlandish these stories are. Like, did he really just say that?
Right.
But I think what you've been highlighting is even more important, the why. Why is he telling these stories?
Exactly. It's easy to focus on the fact check. Like, okay, that's not true. But the real question is, so what? Why does it matter? What can we learn from this?
Exactly. So for our listeners out there who are thinking, okay, this is kind of wild, but I don't usually follow politics, what's the big takeaway here?
Well, I think these stories, they're really a microcosm of something much larger, something that's happening all around us. We are constantly bombarded with narratives.
Right.
Stories that are specifically designed to shape how we see the world.
So it's not just about politics. It's about recognizing that we're always being sold something, whether it's a political candidate, a product,
or even just a version of events, a way to see the world.
Exactly.
And the more we can recognize those tactics, the more we become, well, critical consumers of the information that's thrown at us all the time.
It's like that saying, trust but verify.
Right.
Or in this case, maybe it's listen but investigate.
I love that.
Don't just accept the stories you hear.
From anyone.
Be curious.
Ask questions.
Seek out different perspectives.
Because the truth is, well, it's rarely black and white. And the more informed we are, the better equipped we are to make sense of this crazy world we're living in.
That feels like the perfect note to end on.
I think so.
It's been quite a ride unpacking these seemingly simple stories about Oprah and Trump. But as we've seen, there's always more beneath the surface.
Always.
So until next time,
stay curious.
Keep asking those tough questions, and we'll be here to dive deep with you. See you next time.